can they actually learn from those mistakes in a matter of, 7 days to turn it around now against the #2 team in the league?
Well, of course, they've only got 2 weeks to figure it out. Actually, well, they kind of ran out of time to figure it out for this time, but they do have at least that 1 week break in the middle. Certainly, their hopes of doing well this season are not dashed just yet. But we'll see what kind of research these guys have done, because picks and bans have started. Elise and Shen both being dropped away from Darien, and I can't be surprised by that.
Well, that's an interesting ban on the Shen, because the Wolves are first pick, and we know Godbro really likes to run Shen. So banning it out means they obviously don't want Darien to pick it up, but they don't want to first pick it either. So they definitely have something in mind, some sort of pick. Zed is still in the pool, as is Varus. So those are definitely some things to keep in mind.
I think what they're looking for is Zed as the first pick, and if they ban out Zed, they could first pick Kassadin here. I think that's the big thing here. So they ban out Thresh, right? Shen's been dropped out. The difficulty could be, though, that with Zed picked, of course, Kale is a great counter pick, and we saw actually Alex play her repeatedly in the international show matches just about a month ago in Dallas. But that's where my money lies right now, is the hardcore early in Assassin, because Zed'll do well against TF. He does well against an opposing cast and things like that. So I think that's where a lot of this time lies.
I wonder if Fizz is even an option now for Alex. We've seen him playing it yesterday against Fnatic. We've seen Ocelot playing it earlier in the day. So, the decision is there and it is available for them. The final ban from Gambit was, in fact, Kassadin. So once again, targeting out Bjergsen and saying, we don't want you to have the rift-walking dude, but we're going to let the ninja through. And you have to feel that this is a calculated risk from Gambit. If they are going to let that through, they will have some form of answer or some form of reply, because Lulu is in there as well. So we know Edward likes to run Lulu. Every single AD carry that is prioritized is there and available. And with so many options and only one pick, there's a lot of pressure on Copenhagen Wolves right now.
There are just so many things to get rid of. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of opportunities here. The Lulu steal away. I mean, Zed versus TF was something that Gambit willingly fought last time around, and they succeeded. So they don't even have to worry about it that much. They can get into that specific matchup and not care. I mean, I don't think there's any worry of the test not getting Varus here, though.
Yeah, I think so too. We'll see how they decide to play this one out. If this does get locked in, we actually heard from Alex after last week's matchup where he said, yeah, I was running the feed strat. Go 0-6 and win the game, because he knew that he wasn't going to win the lane, but it didn't matter because they had a map strategy and they had presence to actually win out the game. And that is what it ended up resulting. You can see a little bit of smiles there for Diamond Prox talking about some strategy, and I'd like to see what their reply is, what their answer is to Zed. Immediately looking to lock in that Lulu for Edward, and again, it's been one of his go-to support champions. We're not too surprised by that.
Lulu just makes so much sense here, right? It's the anti-Zed pick. It's just so good in general for Edward. It allows him to play aggressively or passively in lane and just be an awesome lane bully. Darien, kind of thinking about what kind of champion he wants to play, actually does lock in the Renekton. So we haven't seen a first pick, an early Renekton pick in a while that I can think of.
No, it has been a little bit. We have seen Renekton a number of times, though, so we'll see how they decide to play this on, because you can almost expect Bjergsen to take Zed in that middle lane. Rumble is available, as are a number of supports that I'd like to see who Deficio is going to play, because he has been playing Thresh and Lulu as sort of his primary type of supports over the course of the season. Sona is in there, but I don't know if they would go for Sona, so we'll see what the pick is. They might try to pull something out like a Zyra as well. And pressure now on Copenhagen Wolves. They've got their mid/top laner. Varus again, the AD that the Tess has been playing so significantly and so well with throughout the course of the matchup. And we'll see what does actually get locked in the next few seconds.
Yeah, right off the bat, you got to realize that the Wolves are looking to start fights, get into battles with Zed. This isn't, a poke team. This isn't a disengaged Zyra type team, really. It's a team that wants to get into battles. And Svenskeren, ever the initiator, is going to go for Xin Zhao once more. And when Jarvan's gone, shockingly, Xin Zhao it is.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday, how Svenskeren likes to play aggressive junglers. And after talking a little bit to the Copenhagen Wolves, because they rely on Svenskeren for initiation, for him to dive in there and create the opportunities, it leaves Godbro in the top lane to play the tanky champions and to play, the beefy sort of damage-soaking type of guys. Now, he has been doing that with Shen most recently, and I'd like to see what he decides to play today, because his primary champion has obviously been banned out.
Yeah, meanwhile, actually, it's Gambit picking up Misfortune. their usual, actually, so not the Kog'Maw I was expecting to see here. Of course, Alex couldn't have locked in Nasus faster in that lineup overall. Deficio is actually going to go Zyra, though.
Yes, so locking in the Zyra, it's just from Deficio's play, you know, from what he has been playing in past, that it's not too surprising. What I do like is the combination of both the knock-up from Stranglethorns in conjunction with Chain of Corruption. It's a very powerful combo, and if the test continues landing those chains, it's obviously going to set him up really, really well. Yeah. I can see a big grin once Singed gets locked in. I can feel Joe Miller smiling from the analysis test because it's one of his favorite champions. And Godbro has been playing Singed a lot this season. Keep in mind that it's 3.5, so his ultimate, the crowd control reduction, is not there, and it just means he can get killed a little easier if they catch him. Yeah,
so I think Twisted Fate here is the obvious lock-in here for Gambit. They need a hardcore initiator. Fizz, I don't know. Like, I don't think they could really start the battles with that. Of course, I could be wrong. But what I'm interested to see, though, is how... Oh, it actually is going to be a Kayle. So way all back to the beginning, they have taken the Kayle to actually block out the Zed damage, which will, of course, keep Genja alive. But what I'm interested to see is how Gambit now starts fights, because they don't have an easy way of kind of jamming themselves in there and making the battle start, but maybe they don't need to because the Wolves will come to them.
So there's a definite difficulty here for the Copenhagen Wolves. They're not going to be able to pop anybody with Deathmark because of Wild Growth and with Intervention. They do have some consistent damage from in the form of course, Varus, Singed, and even Zinzao with auto attacks, but they've got a very beefy, tanky frontline with Renekton and Nasus. And if they go head-to-head and they start bashing on one another, that ultimate of both Renekton and Nasus, the damage over time, the magic damage over time, is really going to stack up and help them out so much in these team fights. So when they engage, it's going to be very, very key whether or not they can get those ultimates off at the right time as well. Copenhagen Wolves 0-2 against Gambit. Is it going to be 0-3, or are they going to pick up their first victory against the Russians?
Well, what I see here already is Gambit are looking for a lane swap. Notice the Cloth 5 on Darien. Even before he started running to the bottom lane, the fact that he went Cloth 5 when he could have fought a Singed, said, yeah, guys, we're going to go lane swap. And the thing is, I know no one runs Clairvoyance, but if the Wolves Clairvoyance their Fountain, they'd be like, ah, he's trying to lane swap, and then could have swapped back. But it's the sort of expectation where, honestly, like, I almost like Singed in a 1v2 more than I like Renekton. We'll see how it pans out, of course, but it'll be an interesting matchup as the game goes on. Right now, we're looking at 2v1s. No early invades either. Both teams have really split themselves up across the map, put some early wards down, make sure nothing really too fishy is happening, and I think we'll have a pretty docile level 1 for once.
It's going to be a fairly safe one in comparison to some of the level 1s we've actually had today. Oh, so good from Diamond Prox. He's put a point into his siphoning strike and was able to actually clear out the ward. Pink ward as well. There we go. Yeah. So did manage to get the ward down. So immediate little gold advantage in terms of vision, and denying that from the Copenhagen Wolves. But one thing that's going to be very important is to see who can win the 2v1 more, because of course you're going to have Singed and Renekton doing the best they can to CS, and then you're going to have Deficio on Zyra and Edwin on Lulu trying to zone out and deal as much free damage as possible to their lane opponents. And with both Lulu and Zyra, you've got a very, very powerful support champion to, keep them away, keep them zoned, and continue dealing damage from a long range away.
And they both push really well, so I'm interested to see how that ends up panning out. Of course, Darien, you're seeing on your screen, give a lot of help to Diamond, who started with a siphoning strike first. And he's going to be left alone now, start taking down the blue buff. They do not want to have Darien miss any experience early on here. Of course, the Fish here making a similar move there for Svenskeren, starting him on the red buff, and these junglers are pretty equal. Now, of course, we can see that Singed is 1v2.
Yeah, 1v2ing in the bottom lane. Each of our mid laners has started with that Elixir of Fortitude, so they've got that additional burst damage or survival HP, depending on how things go. Bjergsen's going to be a little bit hard-pressed as long as those Righteous Fury swings are up for Kayle, because, of course, it's going to give him that range and just keep him a little bit on the back foot. So we'll see how Bjergsen decides to handle it. A number of potions in both of their back pockets, and he's got his own range of his own using that Shadow Clone and the Shuriken.
All right, so we're seeing everyone kind of mix back around. The dash over the wall from Darien, still getting zoned out. And I want to point out the mix in styles between these two lanes, because right now you've got a pretty big minion wave shoving up there for the Wolves, but they're not pushing too hard. They're not using cooldowns on the minions, and of course neither are Gambit Gaming. So they're both playing the zone game right now and not worrying too much about rushing down a turret dive.
Take a look in the middle though.
Oh my gosh, the damage output there on Alex. First blood actually picked up by Diamond, and they don't do enough damage. Alex with the red elixir just survives.
Red elixir drank on both sides, but Alex was able to flash away from the last tick of damage, had the potion drinking, and managed to pick up that last auto attack strike with Righteous Fury. Really good micromanagement. Diamond Prox is sniffing out this top lane, and Svenskeren and Diamond are literally facing one another. If they had vision, it would be a stare down, and who's going to blink first?
Well, it looks like Diamond's going to be the one knocked into the air. You thought he would have smelled him. Dogs would normally have a good sense of smell, but instead, he's the one forced to run away. Though no summoners burned on either side. Wither was enough to make his escape. Now we can see that nothing really exciting happened in the bottom lane, though, of course, both junglers were in the top half.
Yeah, so nice little counter pressure there from Svenskeren, but Godbro taking a lot of poke from the double up as well as that glitter lance, just trying to counter push that lane as much as possible. And as usual, just trying to see who can push the tower down the quickest. Varus and Zyra a little bit ahead in CS. Obviously, that will start to even it out. Svenskeren still hanging around. He's got full vision of Edward. As you can see, that ward. Is he going to jump on? Nope. Not at this time.
I'm actually surprised he didn't jump onto Edward, because he saw him come in there and knew there was no support for Edward nearby as well, actually. But didn't want to go for that one. Maybe not even reveal his location. Genji, though, putting a lot of pressure, and we're seeing really what's happened in this lane is Godbro's had a much worse time than Darien. He's 6 minions down from what the Crocodile has, so certainly the Mad Chemist not in as good of a spot just yet. However, the Tess is significantly ahead of his opposition as far as AD carries are concerned.
Yeah, so he's going to continue to snowball that lead if he continues playing the way that he is. And you have to feel that Singed, not necessarily as easy to last hit with under the tower. Yeah. The poison damage is a lot less consistent. You can't really control it. And, you know, if you start adding it all over dots, etc., it makes life a bit more difficult. Whereas with the Crocodile, you know exactly how much damage your Kolbamik is doing, your Slice and Dice, and more. Now, the Winged Huskar Zinzao is moving into this bottom lane. There is no vision for Gambit, so they won't know that he's there. Deficio has got a very good ward there to force Darien out the lane. They've
completely shut the way. This turret is going to be theirs for free, absolutely. And they can hope, maybe for their sake, hopefully, swap back in time to keep their own top turret alive. But the turret's theirs. No, they don't even want to go for it. They just want to zone him out, and they run into this brush, hoping to get a free kill onto Diamond. We'll see if he smells this one out. It actually looks like this time his sense of smell is working. He's going to give that one away. But what we're going to see, I think, later on from Singe, though, is the fact that he actually succeeds pretty well without items at all. And when they swap back and it gets this one-on-one sort of matchup, Singe tends to do really, really well just with levels. And so I think that's what we'll end up. We'll see those equalize back out. Of course, you're seeing them proxy the minions down. No farm is being grabbed at all from Darien. They're just letting the minions force the turret down because there's no XP or gold grabbed by the Crocodile.
Really good move by the Copenhagen Wolves to balance out that difference in CS and start to deny those levels like we were talking about and just keep the giant Crocodile from getting giant at all. And the fact that they've held him back for so long is about 2 full creep waves worth of golden experience. It's literally evened up those lanes now. Finally, the minions push down the tower, and it gives them that very early, you know, a map advantage. And we'll see how soon Godbro decides to rotate. Because if Genji and Edward continue pushing, they might get that top tower fairly soon.
Yeah, so the bottom lane for the Copenhagen Wolves is recalling right now. Svenskeren notes that Diamond is in his jungle, and he doesn't really like that very much. Of course, Svenskeren does not have Smite, nor does Diamond. They're not fighting a fight just yet, and actually we're seeing Lulu recall in the minimap. Diamond did get forced out. So it looks like the Wolves actually may have saved their turret. So despite first blood, it's 8.7 to 8.8. The gold basically equal. The Test, though, in a fight up against Darien, he's not going to like this very much. The root comes out. That might just be enough grasping him. The slow there as well. Darien, is he going to get close enough? Remember that he can flash the wall, and he picks up the kill for it. Exhaust is there. Deficio is now alone. This is going to be certainly a double kill. Nice pick up there for Darien.
They're hanging around a little longer than they should have. The Tess and Deficio actually started to recall a moment or two before that, but for some reason just got caught up or interrupted by Darien in that bottom lane. So all of a sudden, Renekton, who was sitting, you know, a little bit less, not having the CS or the farm that he needed to, all of a sudden 2 kills in the bag, looking a lot stronger and a lot scarier. In the top lane, Godbro was forced out as well, very, very low. He burned his Insanity Potion earlier in the lane, so we couldn't even use that to regen. We'll see see whether or not Bjergsen can defend. He's gone on Edward.
He's gone all in onto that one. A lot of damage being dealt. Nice jump from the clone as well, and it's going to be enough. The active from the Cutlass does enough damage, and Minions are actually holding his turret alive just barely as the test comes in, but the ult comes out from MF. Will it be enough to shut the turret down? Of course it won't, because the test is here, and Genja does not want to 1v2 this, so Copenhagen Wolves just barely keep that turret alive.
First kill on the board for the Copenhagen Wolves does go to Bjergsen, and if you look at the experience bar on Edward, we'll catch it in just a moment, he was literally 1 or 2 creeps away from hitting level 6. If Wild Growth had been available, he would have been able to pop himself up, get that health, and potentially survive the burst from Zed. But it was not the case to be, and a good timed, aggressive play from Bjergsen gives him the first kill on the board. It'll balance out a little bit of that CS difference, but he is still 20 creeps behind Alex's Kayle.
All right, and we'll see what ends up happening out of this one. Of course, the first blood assist gold did go to Alex at the cost of Bjergsen's life, so certainly mid lane has not been friendly to that poor ninja. We'll see what ends up happening as this game moves on. 11,000 to 12,000 gold. So Gambit have found themselves a 1,000 gold lead now in this game. Alex and Bjergsen fighting off 1v1. Of course, not much all-in available to the ninja, as Kayle does have her ultimate. And Alex just keeps shoving over and over again.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a farm fest for Alex since he got that very first kill of the matchup, or the assist rather. And obviously, without having Death Mark, Bjergsen's not going to go aggressive. Godbro is picking a little bit of a fight with the Crocodile, but I don't think he's got enough damage just yet to win out that lane. You can see Godbro is just trying to work towards that Catalyst as quickly as possible. Positioning is good for Diamond Prox, though. He's coming in from the side and expect another stun and wither to go down. Godbro must realize this, and he's running a pretty good route away.
He pops the ultimate. Of course, there's no tenacity on the ult anymore, so the wither is going to be very, very strong. Gabo trying to run has burned Ghost as well. The dashing from Darien, is his stun going to be back up in time?
Wow.
It's going to be close. Ignite is off on a Darien. They forced him to run away, but Godbro burned ult and both summoners for that game.
The micromanagement from Darien was so good there, landing every single ability, staying in range for the entirety of Dominus, and actually getting the slice and dice, just timing it so patiently, waiting for some distance to get put in, and then jumping in. Genja and Edward are getting jumped on again. Can he get a second kill?
He's looking for it. A lot of damage is available to Bjergsen. The Q comes off. Deathmark not quite enough damage. He's been ignited, is forced to run away. The ult coming out from Deficio to keep his team alive. However, there's been the numbers there at the Dragon. It's going to be there picked up for free, and now the damage on Deficio. Ult comes off. That might just be enough from the test. Piercing arrow charged as well. Genja takes some damage, also slowed by Bjergsen,
available,
but they are still trying to chase this one down. It's going to be very, very close. He actually flashed the way, and there's the bullet time. He finds Deficio. Bjergsen forced to run away. Can he get out, though? It's going to be close. The slow is there for Alex. Had his ultimate, but did not want to die with it.
So much damage coming out there from Alex. Just one auto attack following up that Reckoning is chunking down the HP, and a very patient Bjergsen stops at the line, waits for the bullet time to fly past, and then casually saunters on behind his tower to stay alive. Nevertheless, Deficio goes down, giving another kill over to Gambit. 4-1 up, 2,000 gold lead. And they're setting the tone and the pace of this matchup right now.
Yeah, those bullets almost bought enough time for Alex to chase down and catch on to Bjergsen. Couldn't quite do it, though. The first top turret, though, dangerously still low on health. While Godbro, oh, nice flip by him. Darien, of course, forced to run away, does trigger the slice and dice by hitting Godbro and just gets the heck out of there.
And Godbro had Insanity Potion available, but 0 mana. He had his Poison Shell running for the entirety of that particular little engagement, and if he had enough mana to pop it, you feel he possibly could have gone aggressive. He's going to stick around in this lane for a little bit, and you can see his mana bar ever slowly creeping up, and wonder if he's going to get enough to actually get that up and running for this next fight.
Looks like he's doing pretty good damage, and actually manages to sync it up just properly. That he actually gets almost every single minion out of that one. The poison did not, or just took it just the right times for him, so great pickup there. His mid turret under fire. Wolves looking for a bit of pressure. Godbro finally going back to base with no health or mana. He's going to be getting a nice couple of items for himself. 2,600 gold on him, and we can just see the comparisons there. Gambit, generally richer.
Yeah, exactly. No, they're winning out their lanes. Outside of their AD carries, they are winning in CS in the top and the mid lane. They've obviously got the kill advantage. One thing they do not have on the board just yet is a tower.
Yeah.
You have to feel that will be happening fairly soon. You can see on the minimap a large wave of minions against the Wolves tower in the bottom lane. And up in the top lane, it's very, very low from that early pressure that Genja and Edward were applying. Bjergsen is hanging around up in the top lane. You can see those caution pings coming out from Gambit. And Bjergsen immediately just falls back, goes back into the mid lane. Svenskeren is there, so they could jump on Kayle, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Instead, Nasus is sniffing around the top lane, trying to get some weed-killing powers down.
Yeah, it's certainly a possibility here, honestly. Wither very, very strong. Tess does have some abilities available. Here comes the Fisher. He's going to get withered out, does not have flash. This could be rough for him. Misses the ult. Tess, this is not good for you. The Lulu comes by as well. The Fisher not in a good spot at all. Decides to sit there and just tank the damage. Falls over. Great pickup there for Gambit, and this turret just might be theirs.
Yeah, I'm not sure if anybody's had a dog or if you have one as a pet. They tend to eat grass and weeds pretty often. That's exactly what Diamondprox did in that situation, securing the 5th kill of the matchup, and now the first tower for them as well. They're going to steal the blue buff away. Svenskeren is in a position to try and defend, but if he gets jumped on, he may be in trouble. Bjergsen also taking pressure in the mid lane from Kayle, and it's just not going well for the Wolves right now.
No, not at all. You saw right there that it had to be smited away there for Diamond. Didn't know if there was a ward on it. They're actually going to jump in onto Alex H. Of course, does not have turret aggro. This might not be nearly enough damage. In fact, he won't even bother ulting. Just runs. Actually, this is going to get pretty risky now. Turns to the counterattack. Wither they're onto Svenskeren. Will they have the damage they're looking for? Bjergsen is in range to dash forward, but of course, again, can't find Alex.
Intervention is still available for Kayle, so if they continue to fight, he's going to be able to just pop that onto himself or onto Diamondprox's Nasus. Yeah. Instead, they wait patiently, they don't blow the cooldowns unless it's absolutely necessary, and they just back away, casually moving to safety. So that gold is slowly increasing now, 4,000 difference between the two teams. And you just got to feel like the Wolves, they need to make something happen. They need to make a play in their favor and on their terms, because they haven't really been able to do that yet.
It's not really been the case so far, and it's just really Gambit in control of the pace here, which is very unusual for Copenhagen Wolves. Their early game is normally just a bit stronger. We'll see if that newfound team fighting power can come into play here. So far, not so much. Diamond prepping the blue buff for Alex Ich. That's going to get grabbed over by the Russian Kayle. Now let's see where these guys are going. 17.5 to 21,500 gold. The lead still there in Gambit's favor, just 15 minutes in. We'll see what the Wolves can do to turn this game around.
I'm interested to see where Alex goes with his build right now, because he's got the Sheen as well as that Blasting Wand. You know, there's a number of different ways you can obviously build and prioritize your Kayle. But the Nash's Tooth is a little bit more expensive on this particular patch, so maybe not rushing that first. But we'll see what he decides to finish up and build. The Tess, of course, working towards his Infinity Edge. He's got some protection in the form of Zyra, but he doesn't even have that Vamp Scepter up just yet. So no lifesteal, no sustain, and any prolonged fights are not going to work out. Interesting move there from Diamond, actually using the locket before he places the ward down, whether that was in anticipation of being jumped on or an accident.
No, that was a misclick. They were right next to each other in the inventory, and so he just clicked the wrong one. But I think it's a short enough cooldown, he'll probably be okay, and I think even without it, Gambit is likely to win the next team fight. Godbro just clearing out this bottom minion wave, doing a pretty good job of that one so far. Trail just keeping him alive, and you can see these guys heads up are just trading farm actually. He doesn't seem like Godbro's getting bullied out too much, but Darian, you know, I called it wrong. He's still winning though, so seems that 2-on-1 did go in Gambit's favor.
Yeah, for sure. At the moment, Godbro just doing the best he can to hold on. He's 40 CS behind his lane opponent. Bjergsen currently 30 CS behind his lane opponent. And the only shining light right now is, of course, the Tess with that minor CS advantage, but it doesn't equate to a gold advantage because of the fact that Gambit have a kill and an assist on their AD carry. So we see Dragon being picked up by Gambit here. Nasus popping his ultimate. Fury of the Sands just to chunk down the HP, and Svenskeren will get in range. He's just going to get little on the way if he had gone any closer.
Yeah, now we can see again this bottom lane now just heads up 1v1, and it's not a fight that Godbro seems to be winning. He could go for the fling here. No, he is going to go for it. Darian might be forced away actually, but the thing is he's now being surrounded by Gambit. This could be enough damage. The knockup is there from Lulu as well, and Edward secures the kill, but here comes Svenskeren. Will it be enough damage? He's trying to put some onto Diamond. The ult comes out from the Tess. It does land. Edward is sticking around, so he'll get rooted as well, and here comes some explosive damage, but will it be enough? Because Alex has shown up and joined the party. Everyone is so incredibly low on both sides here. Alex looks like he'll be surviving that encounter. The ult just doing so much. He's now turning onto the Tess. Svenskeren finds one, though he's killed Edward. Alex is surrounded. He goes down. Another support secures a kill, and it's 2 for 2 in this fight.
2 for 2 in the engagement. The Tess was completely untouched, and Genja the whole time was pushing the top lane. He's going to put a lot of damage onto this inner turret. He's probably going to pick it up, in fact. So Copenhagen Wolves happy with the kills on their team and happy that the Tess was completely untouched in that fight. But they've lost a tower for that. And that just means that Gambit extend that gold lead even further, and they will be happy with the trade. They got Dragon in that, they got 2 kills, and they got a tower, whereas all Copenhagen Wolves picked up was 2 kills, and not one of them went to the test.
And that is a pretty rough spot to be in. And you can see the minion lead just got equalized there between Genja and the test. So that gold, you can just kind of see is growing. 5,500 gold. Now the lead for Gambit. 6K to 5,600 among those AD carries. 6K in the top lane versus 4,200. I mean, just across the board, you are seeing over and over and over again, Gambit is doing better here. Yeah,
it's just a case of being, dare I say, outplayed individually at the moment. You know, they had their setups, they tried the 2v1s, then they, rotated back to their original positions. And for the time being, it just feels like whenever Gambit make a play, they make that play stick. And to be fair, Copenhagen Wolves haven't exactly been in a position where they could set anything up. So hopefully they can find an opening, find an opportunity to actually put themselves in a good position. Blue buff has respawned for Copenhagen Wolves, and Gambit stole the previous one. They're trying to contest this one.
All right, they're going to go in on Alex Ich. His ult is available, though. Now he's going to finish doing the damage, of course. Looks like Golem does get grabbed there by the Wolves overall. Edward now forced to run away. Diamond in the middle as well. And there we go. They're going to go in on him. Wither is put on his fence, scaring the roots come across. They do find Diamond. He's going to keep mixing around. His ult is available, of course, but he's not finding it with it. It's Bjergsen going into this one. Will he have enough damage? Diamond taking a bunch of punishment, getting rooted in place as well. The damage is there, and it seems the Diamonds are not forever because he does go down. And the Copenhagen Wolves will retreat with 1-0.
Very well played. Bullet time is out, though. And what a great dash! Bjergsen throws out the clone. Was it Flash?
Flash.
Oh, I could just off screen, but what a well played, nevertheless. Getting out and survived. Now, Godbro actually forcing Darien away, so good defensive play by Bjergsen. Forced to use a flash, but nevertheless stays alive, and that's what's important.
Yeah, the bullet time for the flash, worthwhile for Gambit overall.
Yeah.
Sure, it's a shorter cooldown, but again, 1-0 still works quite well. The Fishio caught up alone. The slows are there. Ignite is all it takes, and Edward secures his second kill of the game, and it's now 8-4 for Gambit.
Yeah, another kill going Edward's way, and we're not too surprised by that particular one. It's allowed them to secure this mid turret now, picking up their 3rd turret of the game. And it's only that bottom outer turret that still remains for the Copenhagen Wolves as that front line of the defense against the Russian overlords, as it were. So 8-4 up in kills. That goal lead is still continuing to grow. You see Alex picking up his blue buff. He's going to decide to start backing away. Lichbane completed, and the makings of maybe a Seeker's On Guard for the time being.
He's had the cloth armor since forever just to win the lane, but it does look like the pieces of Seeker's Arm Guard. Of course, that can also go into a Venish Codex for a Nashor's Tooth. There's a lot of branching paths available for Alex. We'll just have to wait to see what happens. One thing to point out, though, is that Gambit already has a lot of just persistent damage with their Nasus and Renekton ultimates. We've seen that combo before, actually, even today. And so they could just take a game out. He could easily just go Zhonya's and say, yeah, we'll just outlast you in a battle.
And it would make a lot of sense as well when you consider the damage threats coming out of the Copenhagen Wolves. It's Xin Zhao, Zed, and Varus. Eventually, Singed is going to whittle you down, but it will take a very, very, very long time of magic damage. So it allows Alex to actually not prioritize magic resist in this particular matchup. You can see that Seeker's Arm Guard has actually been completed, and he's grabbed himself another Blasting Wand just to keep his AP up. And he's got a fairly spiky build right now. Gets that Reckoning down, and all the additional magic damage from his Righteous Fury and the Lichbane procs are going to be hitting pretty hard.
Yeah, they will absolutely. This is going to be an interesting fight overall. Edward getting knocked up into the air by Svenskeren, but of course now as both teams kind of group back together, Edward turns back a little bit.
You do see, though, that the brothers, Nasus and Renekton, are in the top lane, just counter-pushing. And, of course, Gambit were in a 5v3, so they didn't really want to get jumped on there, or 4v3, rather. Didn't really want to get jumped on, but there was no real pressure from the Wolves. They didn't have too much intention to pick a battle under that mid-outer turret. Yeah. Instead, they're just trying to bide some time, try and build themselves later and later into this matchup. And talking about the late game, both teams scale pretty well the longer this matchup goes. Yeah. But you got to feel that the spike damage that can come down from Copenhagen Wolves is easier blocked or defended by Gambit.
Exactly. You called it right that he's going for the Zhonya's. I mean, I say that, and then he buys a Blasting Wand. So yeah. I would have expected Zhonya's Hourglass, which would allow Alex to Zhonya's the Death Mark and ult someone else, just to make sure that Zed cannot kill either of the squishy targets that they want to kill in a fight overall. Of course, we've seen Genja go third item, Guardian Angel, this whole week so far. They're going to be fighting over the Dragon right here. Gabra, oh my gosh, look at that burst damage. He's been chunked down almost immediately, and Darien finds that kill. 5 on 4, Diamond's going to go in. Where's the Wither going to be? Svenskeren locks everyone back, slowed down by Reckoning. He's being chased. Can they find it? The Test goes in for an E. He does not have ult anymore. The Fissure lands some grasping roots, but they're still chasing on down. Diamond has a shield. He's still chasing down. The knockup from Zyra hits so many, and they go for the counterattack. Svenskeren in the mix. They trade 1 for 1. Where's he going to go next? Ult comes off from Zed. Darien chasing down onto the Test. Diamond has gone down, and now is it going to be on Alex? It won't be enough damage. Nuh-uh. And that's going to be now 3 for 1. Gambit wins that fight. 1 for 3
in that particular trade, but Singed was killed before he even got to show his face. That was a point-blank assassination from Gambit, removing his presence, removing his life force from that matchup. Copenhagen Wolves were chased all the way back with their tails between their legs, and they could do nothing until Deficio delayed their deaths by a couple of seconds with a very well-placed Strangle Thorns. It knocked up 4 members of Gambit, but it was too little, too late, I'm afraid, and then it still ended up costing them their deaths.
Yeah, so again, you just see how bursty and powerful Gambit are. That Lichbane Kale, we've seen it over the last maybe month or two, kind of replacing the Nash's Tooth Leandries you used to see, and it's been working so incredibly well. There's so much burst coming out from Alex, and of course, an armor stat coming out from Godbro, right? He's worried about Genja, he's worried about Diamond, he's worried about Darien, who are going to be more physical than anything else, and it's Alex who just eviscerates him in those fights. Diamond once again, no ult this time, but soloing the Dragon. And
an interesting point that I always point out whenever I see Nasus and Renekton is the predominant damage is of course going to come from their auto attacks, but when you think of the ultimates, you've got to remember that magic damage over time. Renekton is currently level 15, he's about to hit level 16, and that ultimate is going to go to about 110 damage per second, if I recall correctly, for that for Dominus. Then of course you've got Diamond Prox, who's got a level 2 ultimate, which is going to be 4% of max HP per second. And it's a huge amount of magic damage consistently ticking over before you even start adding in things like the Sunfire Cape and the Splash from Righteous Fury.
It's pretty brutal overall. In a long-term fight, they can certainly keep up with Singed, who's not having the best game, right? 0-2-0, pretty good minion kills, but not getting fed so much because there's almost no global objectives picked up for the Copenhagen Wolves. So, you know, you compare his 170 to Darien's 180, and the goal difference is just massive between the two. So, the Wolves need to find some way to stabilize one out, get Singed to be tanky, get Svenskeren a bit more tanky, and then turn a fight, you know, in a longer format. The Wolves are being bullied around the map. You still see Godbro shoving around the side lane. He's going to heads up against Genja, which actually, if I'm Gambit, I don't mind trading, really.
Yeah, that's not too bad at all. Genja's going to be able to just farm himself up. He's got that GA after Last Whisper and Bloodthirsty. Gambit stacked up in the middle. Have they stayed a little more than they should have because Wolves are going in?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of damage on the Svenskeren, though. I don't know if it's going to be enough to keep him alive. The lock, the knock-up, the roots, they're all there. The rest of Gambit is just stuck in one place, but Darien is refusing to go down. Svenskeren forced to run away. No, Singed does find one. He's showed up before Genja has, but Godbro, will he survive the encounter? Looks like he will. They find one for nothing. Alex should not even ult Darien in that fight, but now it is the rest of Gambit have shown up. Genja is here with that Guardian Angel, pretty much immune to Zed at that point, and it's going to be them still winning the turret despite losing a champion.
And you've got to prefer the turret over a champion kill any day of the week. So well played to Gambit to once again maintain the hold and the Strangle Thorns on the map right now, because there's nothing that Copenhagen Wolves can do to really hold off any of their property. They are simply being, out bullied on the map, and then there's just not a lot that they can do. They do need to get some additional magic resist. I'm still waiting for an Aegis to the Legion or a Runic Bulwark to be completed just to help survive some of that magic damage that's coming down from the members of Gambit. For the time being, it's all Gambit.
Yeah, and that's kind of the funny thing. You mentioned the Aegis or Runic Bulwark, right? Svenskeren opened up with Locker of the Iron Solari. He's starting Aegis now, but because there's been no global objective control here, Deficio couldn't branch out. He's got Philo Sword, Ruby Sightstone. His job is warding. He's not able to buy a second support item, so it's Svenskeren after his first, trying to start a second. Oh, wow! Bjergsen, despite Alex Lich's ultimate, just one-shots the heck out of him. Great pickup there, and Bjergsen's now trying to build tanky to survive. He has enough damage to one-shot people.
Yeah, I really wish we could have seen how that played out, because if you look at the summoner spells, Ignites were used on both sides, Ultimates were used on both sides, but Bjergsen managing to come out ahead in that particular engagement, and that's definitely going to you know, just help him out just a tad, especially considering how first blood he gave it up to his lane opposition.
Yeah.
And I imagine that Ruby Crystal and Giant Spell had a lot to do with that survival effort. For the time being, Needlessly Large Rod was picked up by Alexich, so he's going to be closer to that hourglass as 3 members of Gambit now start chunking down Baron. Once again, Fury of the Sands by Nasus being used, but Svenskeren is here and he does have Smite available.
He is spotting it out. Let's see if he can take it away. He's going to get jumped on. Gambit turns in unison, and it's Darien pushing him away. Svenskeren knocking back. Gambit returns back towards Baron. It's very, very, very low. Red team does pick it up. Darien rooted in place, but the Wolves, despite really a 4-on-4, now soon a 5-on-4, don't want to fight this. They're going to go into this one. Diamond, he goes in, he lands Wither. It's going to be Deficio, forced to flash away. They turn onto Darien, but he is the tank. I don't know if they really want to kill him first. They do burst him down. Bullet time comes across. Lock used to keep them alive. And now, where's the focus going to be? Edward is at half. The ult is available for Alex. Trying to flash away his Bjergsen. He's trying to survive. Alex dropped to half health as well. Godbro putting down the poison, trying to zone the enemy team away. But again, it's Baron for 1 kill. Pretty good for Gambit.
Deficio on point with his grasping roots there, locking up Darien right at the beginning of that engagement and then catching Alexich out as well to prevent the chase. Had that grasping roots not landed, you have to imagine that Alex could potentially have flashed and picked up even more kills. So they trade 1 for 0 in terms of kills, but they've lost Baron Nashor. And 4 members of Gambit with a 10,000 gold lead and with Baron buff, you know, excluding the value that gives you, are in such a commanding position right now.
Yeah.
At any time they decide to pick a fight, they've got such a good dive composition with the wild growth, with the intervention, you know, with the damage that they can get put down on their opponents. It's just going to be up to them to make the plays happen and just shut the Copenhagen Wolves down.
Yeah, but the one thing that I sort of pointed out was that Gambit does not have that easy initiation. Yes, they can Ghost and Wither, right? But you've got, and in the end, it turns out to work really, really well. You've got that Zyra that seems to be the bane of Gambit. Their hardcore initiation does not exist. They run forward. The ult or the grasping root comes by from Deficio, and if he lands his skill shots, Gambit can't chase through, and they're finding that 1 for nothing and getting out. Yeah, okay, they lost a turret. I mean, certainly these are going pretty well for Gambit overall, but like, imagine if the gold were equal. They'd never find anything for free here. And they're using Godbro to split push to the side over and over and over again. He's finally caught up with Darien in minion kills. He's got 2 champion kills for himself as well. The Wolves actually found some way to team fight and actually found some way to late game. Like, yes, 10,000 gold, clearly Gambit is doing awesome, but like, if you're a Wolves fan, you're like, dude, they're holding on for once.
Bjergsen's found Darien. Let's see if he's got enough damage. Deathmark is down.
It's a lot of damage, but the thing is, he's got so much armor, he chops a quarter of his health. I feel like Darien could have just fought him and won that battle. Until he gets the last whisper, he's not going to kill Darien.
So Warden's Mail, Sunfire Cape, Warmogs is really going to mitigate all of the damage that Bjergsen's putting down. Edward's going to pick a fight here with Godbro. His Sanity Potion is ticking, and I feel like Singe can just run away from this. But he actually uses Ghost as well.
I don't know if he needed to do that. He had zoned out Edward with the goo right there as well. But maybe he was running from the rest of Gambit Gaming, who have showed up here. Again, there's the 5th turret picked up for Gambit, and the Wolves are going to be forced to fight this 5-on-5, but without 2 of their ultimates.
If those 4 towers gets balanced out, it'll close the gold lead just a little bit for the time being. The test with his Blade of the Rune King and Infinity Edge is going to be the key member of the Wolves in these ensuing fights. If he can maintain his HP stacks and deal damage at the same time, it's the only damage source that's really 100% reliable from the team, because that Deathmark can get popped off, and Godbro takes such a long time to kill people with poison. Can't really count on it. The fight looks like it's about to break out as the Gambit members want the tower.
I don't think the Wolves really can. They're fighting against a Baron buff team. They're actually going to go in. Godbro has nowhere to go right now. Gets knocked up by Lulu as well. The ult comes out, and look at that giant orange bubble. Darien refusing to go down. Now's the time for Wolves to fight 5v4. They've got to do something, I feel like. This turret is just dropping faster and faster and faster. Will they go in to fight this one? Diamond now in the middle of the attention. Svenskeren dropped lower and lower. Bullet time picks up the kill. They're going into Alexich. Will it be enough? Looks like it's not going to be. Double kill now for Genja. And they turn back onto the test. Do they have the slow? There's the glitter lance. Diamond pulls turret aggro. Now Darien, the one who's getting hit a whole bunch, but he lands the stun. He survives. He just gets healed enough that he survives that one. Can't make that one happen. Triple kill down for Genja. The inhibitor is dead, and they're going to keep moving forward.
If anybody is watching and you have a League of Legends team of your own, rewind that. Watch it again and again, because that is how you team fight. That is how you kite your opposition, and that is how you control a game and a map. Gambit simply popping in and out of that engagement, dodging every ability that they needed to, and landing every single bit of damage that they could.